Today guys, we're going to be looking at the entire history of Fortnite live events. We're going to be starting off in Chapter 1, Season 1 and working our way up to today in Chapter 4, Season 2. So make sure you guys watch all the way through to see every single event that has ever taken place in Fortnite. We need to start this video all the way back in Chapter 1, Season 3 though, where we had our very first Fortnite event known as the Meteor event. This was actually one of the smallest events we had in Fortnite, but it definitely started the entire storyline as we know it today. The Meteor event took us quickly into Season 4 though, followed by the Rocket event. This is one of the key storyline events that actually happened very early on. This was actually the event that created the rifts. It also introduced our very first major story character known as the Visitor, but we wouldn't really know too much about him or his importance to the storyline for a few years. Moving on to Season 5, we got Kevin the Cube. Kevin the Cube started from a bolt of lightning shot out from one of the rifts caused by the end of season event in Season 4. Kevin the Cube started to slowly roll around the map the entire season until right before Season 5 started, Kevin the Cube dissolved himself into the Loot Lake. This eventually renamed the location to the Leaky Lake and introduced us to Season 6. Kevin the Cube had left runes all around the map, and even some of these runes we still see in the Fortnite storyline today. The Loot Lake house turned into a floating island, moving around the map every single update and leaving cube shards in its path. The Butterfly event was also the season's main event during Season 6, and even though it had little importance at the time, we still see a butterfly popping up in most events that we have had over the last few years. Season 7 we also had another major event, and this was the Ice King event. As the season's best Battle Pass skin, the Ice King created a huge projection of himself over the mountains in the snow, showing off his magical powers, and he also managed to spread snow across the entire Fortnite map. This doesn't have major importance to the storyline, but it was still cool that we were getting events every single season, and in Season 7 we also had the very first concert in Fortnite, which was Marshmallow's concert. In Season 8 we didn't really have too many storyline events, but we actually had the Unvaulting event. You could unvault a weapon in this event. It could have been anything from the Infinity Blade to a plane, but we ended up choosing the Drum Gun, which seemingly everyone hated, even though the majority of Fortnite players chose to unvault this weapon. The volcano also exploded soon after, destroying much loved locations like Retail Row, Polar Peak, and completely destroying Tilted Towers except for one building, which was covered by no sweat insurance. We move on to Season 9, which was the futuristic season of Fortnite, which also included the final showdown event between the Devourer monster, which had been hiding in the snow over the last few seasons, and of course the mecha team leader robot that was being built in the ruins of the volcano. With Tilted Towers being completely destroyed, luckily the mecha was able to hide a sword in one of the statues located in Tilted Towers, and this was used to defeat the Devourer. In order to defeat the Devourer, the mecha team leader actually consumes the 0 point and uses it to gain enough strength and power to be able to overcome the Devourer, eventually killing it in the season event. Even though this was a positive at the time, it obviously set reality on a course that could never be changed. This only destabilized reality, and the end of Chapter 1 was only a matter of time. A rocket launched out of the remade Dusty Depot. It flew straight up into one of the first rifts that formed over the island and just bounced around from rift to rift, eventually creating a rift right next to the meteor on the map. This rift grew big enough to actually consume the meteor, which eventually reappeared out of the massive rift above the 0 point. It finally broke through the barrier and exploded the 0 point once and for all, creating a massive black hole in the center of the island. This obviously sucked up the entire Fortnite map and us along with it, putting us into the black hole event, which was so crazy that some people actually destroyed their own setups because they had to wait for Fortnite Chapter 2. It was only a few days, but this proved to be too long for some people. A few days later, we got the introduction of Chapter 2, and after so many amazing events during Chapter 1, Fortnite took a break during Season 1, with the only event being an upcoming teaser for the next Star Wars movie. Although this was a lot of fun and very exciting for Star Wars fans, fans like me, if you were a fan of the Fortnite storyline, this probably wasn't what you were looking for. Season 2 seemed like a brand new beginning though. We got the Travis Scott concert in the middle of the season, and then of course at the end of the season we had the first Doomsday event. It turned out Midas, one of the most loved Fortnite characters of all time, was creating a Doomsday device at the agency to destroy the storm that was consuming the map every single game. He hoped to push back the storm enough to save reality, but unfortunately this backfired and created a wall of water replacing the storm, and this led us into Season 3. This wall of water exploded, flooding the entire Fortnite map and left most of the map covered in water for the first few weeks of Season 3. There was no storyline events in Season 3 though until we moved into Season 4. Season 4 introduced an entirely Marvel season of Fortnite, and it also introduced one of the first mega villains into the Fortnite storyline, Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds. This was teased very early on in the season. In the very first trailer for Season 4, you can see all of the Marvel heroes and of course some of the Fortnite heroes as well trying to work together to protect us from Galactus. But as the season moves on and Galactus grew closer and closer to the Fortnite map, his intentions of destroying the 0 point became more and more real. But luckily Galactus was defeated before he could consume the 0 point, with Tony Stark's army of upgraded battle buses restoring reality, or so we thought, until John Jones, or Agent Jones, woke up in his office alerting us to the existence of the Island Loopers and the organization known as the Imagined Order, which were creating the loop itself. This moved us into Season 5, where Agent Jones brings in recruits to save reality, but the destabilization of the 0 point continues. Unlike other seasons, we didn't have an end of season event in Season 5, but rather a start of season event in Season 6. This introduced us to the Zero Crisis event. The Foundation managed to save reality from exploding and of course sacrificed himself in the 0 point to stabilize it, which also created the Spire. This introduced more characters like Raz, and eventually would also introduce the Cube Queen. As we moved through to Season 7, we got introduced to a brand new set of enemies as the mothership flies over the island, alerting us to some brand new villains. This obviously include Rick, Sanchez, and of course the aliens all around the map. We also had a concert featuring Ariana Grande during Season 7, which did just seem like a regular concert until we saw some flashbacks of key Fortnite moments, which the Cube Queen was manipulating in order to understand the Fortnite map. We had the Skyfire event where we teamed up to destroy the mothership. Once we managed to get onto the mothership, we even saw Kevin the Cube had finally been remade, along with thousands of other cubes. Once Dr. Sloan realized this, she actually betrayed us, trapping us on the ship, sacrificing us along with what she thought would eventually destroy the cubes and the mothership as well. This backfired with Season 8 starting, and the Golden Cube could be found around the map. As this season progressed, it awakened more and more cubes. The inevitable end of the chapter event had already begun, the showdown against the Cube Queen. The 7 managed to come together and rescue us, opening the secret bunkers around the map that had been hidden since Chapter 2 began. They managed to defeat the Cube Queen by flipping the island literally and launching us into Chapter 3. During Chapter 3, Season 1, everything seemed calm, but as we moved into Season 2, the IO, or the Imagined Order, had secretly been drilling under the map trying to create a next Doomsday device, and at the start of Season 2, we saw the big drill being exposed from the ground, along with tanks rolling out declaring war on the island and the 7. Luckily, we had been rebuilding the mecha team leader on the moon in order to defeat Sloan and the IO, and this sent us into Season 3. This was known as the Vibin season. It was planned to restore peace to the Fortnite map, and there were no events during Chapter 3, Season 3. As Season 4 started though, we have been introduced to a brand new set of villains, but as we moved into the end of chapter event in Chapter 3, Season 4, a lot of these characters didn't really play a major role. The event was basically designed around creating the Chapter 4 map. A lot of people are basically undecided over whether this was a good event or not, A lot of people love it and a lot of people hate it, but now that we are in Chapter 4, I think it is still a good event. We haven't had any events so far though. Obviously, Chapter 4 Season 1 basically ended with no sign of an event, and we don't know if one is going to happen during Season 2 either. Hopefully that does happen though. I think it would be really cool to see some events in Fortnite again, but let me know what you guys want to see in the future, and let me know if you think Fortnite should add some more events.